Thursday of last week, Blake posted this article to the Wizards website. And I use the word article very, very loosely. They've labelled it an announcement, but I also think, from a semantic perspective, this doesn't really announce anything. It's a teaser, if anything. Perhaps even an announcement of an announcement. Psst, hey you over there, wanna see something cool? Here's a counterspell that looks like it's been printed on an inkjet printer with a sticker stuck on it. They point out how it looks like one of those playtest cards from Mystery Booster. These ones here, the ones that aren't actually Magic cards, they're things that could never get printed as normal Magic cards and thus have a completely different function to normal Magic cards. This is a counterspell, which already exists and looks a lot better in pretty much every single rendition I've ever seen. There is a subjective element here, but I think this counterspell is one of the ugliest, if not ugliest, Magic cards I've ever seen. But more on that in a minute. All from Gavin Verhey's event at Magicon, where he handmade cards, which is part of the novelty. We call them playtest cards because they look like what we used to, playtest cards before making the real thing. When you're dealing with a term like playtest card and then the verb of playtesting and then the noun cards, I don't think the conversational tone and commas and stuff makes it very easy to read. Only this one, which again is super cool, is the first one of these things you might see in the wild that represents an actual, real, pre-existing card. Of course, these things are not tournament legal. Okay, so what is this? We don't know. It's basically a teaser. It's a taster for something that's coming. And bearing in mind, we got all of this art shown to us over the weekend as well, which will be for things that are getting revealed at the Magic Barcelona panel. If I get time tomorrow before I leave, I will actually do a predictions video, because some of this art is fucking incredible. Some of the stuff is great. Pretty funny that we're getting a mouse with a sword as Lorcana is looking to drop, right? I mean, that's just got to be a coincidence that we're getting a battle-ready mouse character. We've never had that in Magic before, and it's just an absolute coincidence is happening as Disney dropped their card game. Coincidence. But that means that this thing, whatever the fuck this thing is, well, we know what it is, it's a playtest card of counterspell. I assume we'll get this either announced in with it, teased at some more, or be part of these products. Part of me wondered that they would be hidden cards in Commander Masters, but it looks like all the ambassadors have already opened that product, and none of them are showing these things off unless they've somehow not done that in their videos and such. So I don't think that's true or the case. I don't think these are in Commander Masters. And of course it says SL playtest at the bottom, which is secret lair, of course. So I'm imagining really we're going to get a playtest secret lair. Today's video is going to be me talking about what that is, how I feel about it, and where I think that leads us down the line. Some predictions, some subjective opinions, and a little bit of snark, because I think this is the ugliest fucking thing I've ever seen. If you want to buy real Magic cards, singles or sealed product, you can use the link description below, and the code Kenobi at checkout at coolstuffinc.com. Get 5% off your order and it helps to support the show. So Counterspell, iconic, powerful card, printed in alpha. This is the alpha art, by the way, that they're using on this playtest card. The reason I mentioned that this is alpha art is because that suggests that we're going to get alpha and beta playtest cards. I'm going to come to that term in a moment and unpack that for you. This would lead many to speculate that we're about to see another round of official proxies from Wizards of the Coast that are going to reprint reserve list cards. Why do you want a counterspell with an incorrect Magic back, no Magic back, or a gold Magic back that can't be played at a tournament or in competitive Magic? Well, most people won't unless it's obviously gorgeous. And whilst this is a pastiche, whilst this is like a simulacrum, a reference to the very concept of playtest cards, it is itself evoking the idea of printing out cards, sticking them to bits of cardboard and playing with them, which is what they do to playtest the cards in development. I do think that it doesn't break through that barrier to become cool again. I don't think that's ironic or self-knowing enough. I think it looks like an ugly inkjet version of a counterspell that someone has stuck a stolen, authenticated sticker onto. I'll be honest, the addition of this sticker, which is probably foil to authenticate the official proxy in a way, I think that's really dumb that we have to authenticate the official proxies, and that's something they're doing so that they can sell their proxies as more authentic than other people's proxies, I guess. But B, I actually like this detail. I think the sticker being slapped on there and being, you know, an uncut part of the hollow foil stamp technology, for example, I think does elevate it to that chopped up Frankenstein's monster of a proxy pretend Magic card. But the rest of it does not sell me. This frame treatment, this art style, this look for a proxy is ugly as shit. But of course, they're probably going to print other cards like this. Well, no, we know they're going to print other cards like this. But what I'm going to say is they're probably going to print other cards that are more desirable, like crypts or reserve list stuff like Bayou and Tropical Island. And that's where they'll get their super desirable chase shit. If they printed Counterspell, 2 other blue cards, and a Time Twister or an Ancestral Recall in this style, that Secret Lair will sell like hotcakes. And that's where we're going. I think this is going to be a Secret Lair redo on what they tried to do with Magic 30. A crash course on Magic 30 is $1,000 for 4 boosters that were randomized and have playtest cards in them. Playtest cards, if you don't know, are just proxies. They are Magic cards on the front, and when you turn them over, they're gold bordered, meaning they can't be played in tournaments. This is not a new thing that Wizards have just started doing, it's a thing they've returned to. It's a tool in the belt they haven't touched on for a long time, as they used to reprint entire Pro Tour and World Champion winning decks in gold border. They've recently returned to it, but instead of giving you a deck for like 50 quid or whatever the fucking price tag would be, with all these super duper powerful cards in it that aren't legal in tournaments, but with gold backs, they instead randomized it and sold it to you for 1,000. They basically took everything that was good about the original and fucked it. Wildly fucked it. And they've admitted they fucked it. They have admitted in fucking shareholder calls that they mispriced Magic 30 horribly. And for the first time in the history of the modern company, they took a big, fat fucking L. Magic 30 failed to sell. They had to conclude the sale, not because they ran out of product, because no one was buying it. And if they didn't take the sale down, it was going to look bad in the news the next day and damage an already damaged share price due to a load of mismanagement of product lines like this. But that brings us to this one, right? What is 4 proxy cards really worth to someone? I think we're going to see a Secret Lair more expensive than other Secret Lairs, maybe £100, and it's going to be 4, 5, or 10 cards, something like that, and it's going to have some proxy cards in it. Hell, maybe they'll do the whole thing where they do a 60 card deck, old school proxy card deck of some kind, 94, 93 sort of cards, dual lands and shit in it, and they sell that for 100 or 200 quid. And personally, I kind of hate that. I hate the idea that they can skirt around the reserve list without removing it and sell us bits of cardboard that can't be played in competitive events. In reality, these are so fucking ugly, it almost harkens back to that old joke that if they reprinted like the reserve list stuff with no art on the card and in white border, which is just borderline, look at this shit. It looks so fucking ugly. And I know it's on purpose, but being purposefully ugly isn't always good. This is not the faithless looting, where it's obviously jarring because it's deconstructing what we expect from a Magic card. Instead, it's being self-referential to the point that it's almost mocking us that we could also inkjet print these fucking cards. But it's going back to that joke of, couldn't they just reprint the reserve list and make them undesirable to look at? I think that's what they're doing. Now, it might come in a Secret Lair, which I think is going to happen. SL playtest written on the bottom. We'll see that announced this weekend or next, and they'll go on sale probably almost immediately as well. Unless they want to do an announcement like this, of an announcement, which will then announce a thing that will come out later. I hope they don't do that because that's dumb. And that will be another test in the waters to see how much they can sell us in terms of reserve list card stuff that is technically not breaking said reserve list. What they do with this in terms of pricing is the real litmus test of how they can deal with this in future. There's an element of reprinting the reserve list that pisses off collectors because they already own that stuff and they've already been promised that will never go away. But it also excites some parts of the collecting community. And by collecting, I mean the people trying to make a quick buck off this shit or a long-term buck off this shit. Because there were a lot of people that bought Magic 30 and are currently selling it amongst themselves. That's my theory. I don't have proof of this. Because no normal individual is buying this shit. It's just high-end sellers to high-end sellers pretending there's a market for proxied versions of tropical islands. So they've got to do a tightrope balancing act for appeasing these people that want to make money off of people wanting fucking luxury cardboard rectangles, and also the people that don't want their original cards reprinted. In some ways, if I'm honest with, this is kind of outside the spirit of the reserve list anyway, because it's going around it in such a weird fringe way. I am for the reserve list going away, by the way. I'm not for them doing it in a way that makes the players unable to play with the cards at events, and thus Legacy never gets to get access to those cards, because then we're not even getting the actual use out of getting rid of the reserve list that I want. Ultimately, these proxy cards will be played in Commander anyway, and if these become like readily available through multiple products, I really call for the community to say fuck it and start playing them in Modern and Legacy. Like, fuck Wizards, it's not their decision really, it's ours what we play with, right? I know they get to sanction events at their big tournaments and stuff, and their big events, but I'd love it if lower end tournaments and lower events that weren't sanctioned by Wizards, or, well, I guess all events technically sanctioned by Wizards, were to play them. The problem is that Wizards will then cut their support to those vendors and those tournament organisers and those stores. They've got a strangle grip on this stuff. We're going to get these at some sort of price point that seems reasonable to some people. I think any price point for proxies is kind of stupid because you can get them from anyone for that price, right? They're going to entry them at a very low price point, or low-ish price point, to make us all feel better about it, and then they can ramp up from there, because they overshot the mark initially with Magic 30. And ultimately, I can't figure out where I think 4 playtest cards in a secret lair really sits at a price point for me. If they did 3 cards of undesirable shit, Counterspell, Swords to Plowshares, or something else. And by undesirable, I mean we already have them by the bucket load with better looking versions. But in amongst those 4 was a Volcanic Island or a Time Twister or similar. That's what starts to ask me the question, would I buy that? And ultimately, I don't want to buy that. I don't want to buy Proxies directly from Wizards. Sorry, playtest cards, not proxies. Proxies are what judges create to replace like a warped foil in a game when you realize your foils are starting to warp mid-tournament. A playtest card is a card you play with your friends and can't play at tournaments, which is exactly what this is. But you can also get them on wish.com. For those of you that are watching this and are completely anti the idea of Wizards doing anything like this, kind of how I feel, there's a few things that I want to examine. Firstly, I wonder if I feel this way primarily because of Magic 30 being such a predatory joke that I think it soured my idea of Wizards giving us official, sanctioned playtest cards. That's the first reason. If this had happened first and Magic 30 happened later, I'd probably be a lot hotter on this. So I do ask you as an audience, is that part of why you might be reacting badly to this? And secondly, I actually really liked the old gold border stuff, and I loved seeing it floating around in Commander, and I would like seeing it floating around in Commander forever more. I think the gold border non-tournament legal stuff was good. So again, I think I'm now only looking at this way for 2 reasons. 1, the souring of my expectations and my feelings towards this kind of product because of Magic 30. But 2, this attempt to be self-knowing and irreverent by being a literal fucking Xeroxed version of Counterspell is kind of embarrassing. Because in some ways it draws attention to the very notion that we don't need our playtest cards to be sanctioned by Wizards of the Coast. There will be people out there who will happily play against these sleeved up in Magic decks for Commander, but not, I don't know, whatever you've had made by a proxy artist, for example, or printed at home. And that bugs the shit out of me. Like, what does it even matter if something's officially made by Wizards if the cards are trying themselves to look like they're not officially made by Wizards, that they are printed on an inkjet printer? At some point, the copy of a copy breaks down, and at that point, who cares? Just print whatever the fuck you want. Do you know what's really fucking wild? When I was trying to find this article again to make this video, and I googled MTG Counterspell playtest card, one of the top results was an Etsy search that gave me counterfeit. Yeah, that's right, we're going to use the word counterfeit counterspells. The only reason this isn't a counterfeit is because Wizards say it's not, and it's from them, right? And it's their intellectual property and everything like that. But if you're not going to be playing a tournament, it might as well be a fucking counterfeit. The price point is what ultimately matters for a lot of this. If these are freebies found in packs, whatever. And that's how I really would like them to introduce it, because then we'll get to see how the community reacts to them and how much they sell for on secondary markets genuinely. Although it might be that a load of big collectors buy them up and then sell them and sort of try and make a new market and stuff, a new reserve list in a way. But ultimately, I think it's kind of stupid that this card doesn't simply have a Magic card back. At the point that it has a Magic card back, it's just another Magic card that I don't like the look of, and that's fine, right? I did a whole fucking video talking about how I think they missed the mark of what they could have done with this frame when they reprinted the Amonkhet Showcase frame with Imoti in Mark to the Machine. I cannot like it, but if you do, that's fine. But the fact that we're getting the ugliest card I've ever seen, and it's potentially not even tournament legal, it does kind of nag at me a little bit. It does bug me a little bit. And I think that's fair. It's okay to have something frustrate you or make you feel a bit yucky, right? So, the price point's the important part. We don't know that yet, but I did want to just do this video to talk about the fact that this is coming and to throw out some conjecture about, is it going to be a secret lair? Could they do it for free? And why they're doing it in this way. Why they've pulled all the way back from Magic 30 and then are going to trickle the supply in via different products to try and test the waters on how much they can sell us cards that are not legal in tournaments, and thus they can access that reprint equity, that well of value that's currently locked up behind a reserve list, but without giving the players who are also outside this locked up vault access to the cards for anything beyond Commander. But ultimately, is Magic anything more than just Commander these days? I've been Vince, also PleasantKenobi on the internet. I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. I'm going to be reading every single one of them because I'm going to do a follow-up video on this when we hear about it, because I think this is fascinating from the perspective of what it means for the community, from game design, from product design. It's an interesting topic, even if you don't like it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.